This guy's not making any progress in front. You gonna go? Or are you just gonna stay in that nice little football speed? Not sure. Not sure. I just don't quite trust this guy. Look at this guy. Get off my lane, you prick. Paddington Bear, hard stay. Find it a bit hard to stick in his lane. Right. When I worked in the bike industry, way back when, I was afforded the use of a demonstrator, depending on what we had registered at the time. Of course, the Triumphs were there, and one of the demos was a Triumph Tiger 900, a 94 model. It was black, and I used to thrape this thing everywhere. It's awesome. Once upon a time, I'm riding down Willesden, which is the village in West Yorkshire, not far from Bingley, and the speed limit was a 60 when you come out of the village at the bottom. It's a 40 nowadays, but there's a garden centre down there, and just before this garden centre, sorry, just after the garden centre, when you're heading down the village, it's a right to left hand bend. And I was on this Triumph Tiger, and I used to ride it like an idiot, because that's how we used to learn how to ride, innit? I was lucky I didn't have to pay for the tyres, servicing. It was a demo. And of course, for them that remember, they had these Michelin tyres, which would be great. They were a road off-road mix, but great in the dry. There was that Michelin tyre, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was big knobs on the tyre, big knobbles, and they were like in a V. And I can only imagine, there's only one word I can describe them in the wet: shite. But that didn't stop me, because of course, in my opinion at the time, and probably still is, if you want to sharpen your riding skills, get out in the wet and learn how to ride. Well, I love riding in the rain. Jeez, this wind. And I'd had a bit of a warning this particular period of time. I'm driving down Willesden, and this, you come out of the village, it's a 30-mile-an-hour zone, 50 k's in the new money, and then it's on. It's dry stone walls, you're blacking down, it's a country road, and at the time it was a 60-mile-an-hour road, 100 k's. So I'm on it, doing 100 mile an hour, not 160 k's, not 60 mile an hour. I was racing. So you're coming down this road, which this clown, reversing onto a main road. Well done. And it's wet. So I touch the brakes. I'm a bit 50-50 on the brakes, front and rear. And don't get me wrong, I could ride, but of course I had a bit of youthful exuberance involved, and the bike locks up. And I remember this, because I actually remember my arse twitching. I thought, oh, bollocks. And I'm thinking, I'm alright, I'll get this speed scrubbed off. And to be fair, I'm still hurtling down this road and it's tightening up. I haven't got to the bend yet, but the road thins a bit, and there's a very slight right to left past some cottages to the left. At this stage I'm scrubbing speed off, but I'm on the edge. I'm thinking I've got a 90-degree right hand bend coming up, and a dry stone wall, which is immediately after the garden centre. And I'm scrubbing speed off, and I managed. It's one of these moments, you know, when you see the racers and they're in a bend, and all of a sudden the bike steps out as they're approaching the bend. They're on the limit, they're on the brakes. And how often do we see them going to a gravel track, and you think, why didn't you just pitch it over that little bit more? You can't, because the whole bike balance is out by that stage. and it's not that easy just to pitch it over after you've lost that balance that it should have had. It seems to just upset it, and you'll see them and you think, well, but they show it back in slow motion on the telly, don't they? You think, well, why don't you just stay there, why don't you just pitch it in a bit more and lean over? But you're committed at that point, and the bike ends up in a gravel trap. Well, I was at that situation when I've got, as I'm approaching this bend, there's chevrons to stop a little lane that goes straight on, and then there's a driveway with a gate, and then you've got a dry stone wall, and it's a right to left bend. And this is my warning. I'm coming into there and I'm locked up, shitting myself, trying to scrub the speed off, and I imagined, I have to say, there'll have been 20% skill, 50% luck, 30% strength combined with fear, and I managed to scrub the speed off just enough to pitch it in and manage to get down the bend. Heart in mouth. As soon as I got around that bend, I've got a left-hander. Around the bend, confident as hell, back up to speed, dropping down past the malt shovel car park, little, what used to be a humpback bridge, it's not quite as humpy now, and then back on it, you're back into a 60 zone, handful, giving it large up this hill. Off to my destination. I can't remember where I was going, that bit's irrelevant, but that was my warning shot that I had fired at me. So I've still got this demo next couple of weeks. Newish bike, in fact very new actually, about 700 miles on it by the time next couple of weeks come through. It's had its first service which was about 500 miles, so we can start opening it up. Anyway, a couple of weeks later, it's a Saturday morning. Again, it's been a wet day, but drying out. Oh geez, that wind. Look at them trees up there. Saturday morning, need to go to work. I'm working at Jeffrey's at Shipley. Youthful exuberance. I'm on my way to work and I'm on Stony Ridge Road, and it's a 30 zone, but nobody ever knew why. It should have been a 60 road. I found out why. So it's a straight bit of road, nothing can pull out on you, fields either side, and it comes to a junction at the end. But again, there's a chevron. It's a different type of road, but very similar. Apart from the fact it's level. And I'm blatting down this road. There's a little car in front of me. I think it was a red hatch or something. It's a 30 road. She was doing about 40. I went past her like she was going backwards, and I'm approaching this bend. Saturday morning. Locks it up. I went, shit. Goes sideways on me. Okay, what do? Same situation. I thought, I haven't learned my bloody lesson here, have I? At all. Scrubbing the speed off. But at this stage, I was doing 70 mile an hour, approaching this junction, and every time I took my brakes, it went sideways on me. It locked them up. Back end squiddling about. I wasn't scrubbing any speed off, and I'm approaching this junction. It's a right to left. I've got one of them wrought iron gates. That did not want to be hit. I've got chevrons. That did not want to hit. And I'm going through this in slow motion in my head. I'm weighing it up. Can I scrub it off? Can I scrub the speed off? Can I... What do? Do I lay it down and just risk messing the bike up? Well, yeah. At that point, I'm thinking, right, one way or another, I'm coming off here. How do I minimise the damage to the bike and to me? I didn't pick the right option, to be fair. I'd overtaken this car, tried scrubbing my speed off, and it hadn't happened. These tyres were shit in the wet, as I said. So I'm approaching this dry stone wall, and I've got like three choices. I hit the wrought iron gate. I've got to miss that. The black and white chevrons, and it's a right turn, left turn to a junction. I ain't going to stop, and I'm down to about 45 mile an hour. And at that point, I've realised that's it. I've had it. It's the dry stone wall. Now, a dry stone wall is a lovely built wall, built with centuries of skill, passed down through generations, but they're built strong to withhold wind, but not vehicles, not Triumph Tigers. But I'm thinking my option here is to jump off the bike just before it hits the bloody wall, and I end up going over it into a field, which I did. So I flies over this wall, bike's destroyed part of the wall, but it didn't get through it. It bounces back off it. However, I don't know, back into the road and to its side. I end up sat in a pile of cow shit in the middle of this field, and I'm looking around myself, and of course I've only got a 4 or 5 mile ride into work, so I think, sod it. I didn't really get dressed up, I had my jeans on, light jacket, but I was alright. Apart from a sore thumb, I think I broke my thumb, and I knew that because as I walked back through this hole in the wall, the woman in the car that I'd overtaken, she sort of mouthed, "You alright?" to me, and I went, I'll give her a thumbs up, and my thumb hurt. And that was it. She tried to pick the bike up from the wrong side. I went, no, leave it. And I picked it up and dragged it to the side of the road. The back wheels wouldn't go around. The front wheel was all smashed up. And I dragged it to the side of the road, all plastics are there, everything. And she said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Jeffrey's, I work there, it's a company bike." And she just sort of giggled and rolled her eyes at me and gave me a lift out of work, which was superb of her. She didn't give me any shit for riding like a plonker. So she gave me a lift down. Now Nick and Tony, especially Nick, he used to say, "Look, if ever you drop," well, last it was Tony, he always used to say, "If ever you drop one, don't hide it, just tell us, we'll fix it." But straight in, Nick, into his office. He had this office in the back. Remember when he always said, if you ever drop a bike, come and tell me? He went, "Yeah, give me this look." Now Nick could be quite cutting, and the C word starts coming out, and he's just looking at me. I'm like, and I remember Pauline, which was Tony's wife, bless her, they're no longer with us. What a shame. Tremendous lady. And she said, "Don't you listen to Nicholas. Don't you listen to him. He's smashed more bikes up than anybody." So that's fine when your dad owns the business. You ain't going to get into trouble and get sacked. Anyway, I had to go up and tell Tony. So I went up and told Tony, and he goes, "I thought you could ride a bike." Well, clearly not, wasn't the answer he was looking for. "What do you think you were doing?" I said, "About 70 mile an hour. Rolled his eyes. "Right, we better go get the bike." Because of course they were thinking they were going to have to get the bike and get everything out of the way, because they didn't want to bill for the dry stone wall. Tight bastards. Took the man out of Yorkshire. Well, we're in Yorkshire. So we jumped in the van. We had a Merc Sprinter, which had had a lot of thrashing from DJ in the years after as well. Another story. And so we're in the Merc Sprinter, gets up there, and we're trying to pick all these demonstrator stickers up so nobody could find out who wrecked it, the wall. Got the bike back down, and I'm at work. Not a great advert for motorcycling. I'm sore as hell, thumb sore, torn jeans, trying to sell motorbikes because they're nice and safe things to use, aren't they? Anyway, 9:30 I get a call from Ian, who was the apprentice mechanic. He was supposed to be picking me up. I forgot to pick him up for work. He's the mechanic, and I'd gone the wrong way. I forgot completely. He's an apprentice mechanic. He's 17, and he's not at work. And obviously everybody would have gone more interested in what I'd done to this Triumph to realise he wasn't there. So he's run me up. "Sorry mate, I forgot to pick you up." You might be glad I didn't pick you up, because I binned it on the way in, having forgot to pick you up. Interestingly, I sold about half a dozen bikes that day. It was a cracking day, but I was sore. Not a great advert. But things could have turned out very differently, because that Ian was Hutchy, Ian Hutchinson. He was only 17. I used to give him a lift to and from work on the back of the bikes. And that particular one I've forgotten. I wonder if I'm not necessarily a believer in fate, but it often crosses my mind. I wonder if I was meant to fall off that day. But imagine if I'd have gone the right way and I'd come off with Ian on the back. Things could have been very different, because he wasn't a motorcyclist at the time. He was a self-taught rider. He was a talented lad. He used to hop around on BMXs and stuff, do all the trials and jumping around like they do nowadays. But he was doing it 20 years ago. What is he, 37 now? And Hutchy, got off lightly that morning because I could have binned it with him on the back while I was still pushing my luck on these dodgy tyres, as I call them. So yeah, that's my story for today. Ian's still with us. He's learnt how to crash bikes on his own now, without, well, interestingly, he's one of these riders that it's not always his fault. Maybe Barry Sheen never really made many mistakes. He had many a good injury, but they weren't his fault. They were either mechanical issues or something else happening in front of him. And it's the same with Ian. He got run over at Silverstone, which obviously that's why he's only got half a bloody leg. And he got, we think it was a puncture that broke his leg again a couple of years ago at the Isle of Man. Got a puncture going on the bend. That's somebody threw a photo at him and said, look mate, your tyre was going down, that's why you come off. But yeah, Ian, self-taught rider, self-provided, became the fastest motorcyclist in the world. Only man to win 5 Isle of Man TTs in a week, 2010. Taught him all he knows. That's what I tell people anyway. But yeah, he used to get excited when I used to pull wheelies up Park Road and with him on the back on this, was it a yellow Daytona, the red Daytona 1200 we had, and I used to blat it up Park Road with him on the back, and I'd be dropping off at his house and his dad was stood there on drive and Ian would be going, was that a wheelie? I'd be like, not in front of your dad. Funny as. So yeah, that Triumph Tiger got rebuilt. We didn't write it off, we rebuilt it and I sold it about 3 weeks later. New panels. The only thing that came close to writing it off was the fact if it had got the swinging arm, and it didn't. We managed to make it just about retrievable. So we rebuilt it and it made it a perfect bike. So it wasn't written off. What's this car indicating? Stay there mate. And I remember selling it to a guy, and I can't remember his name. Nice fella. And what happened was we didn't have the little embossed Union flag jacks that were all the Triumphs at the time had. And I explained to the guy that with the story how I'd come off it and we've repaired it, and he was happy. He'd got the bike with no miles on it. My favourite junction, remember this? Nobody behind me today. So he got the bike with no miles on it because we had to put new clocks on it. That's how much it had got a crown at the front. And I explained to him it's actually got 700 miles and we don't have any Union Jacks. Can you order me some? And that was it, done. So yeah, I said we'll order you some in. We'll get them to you. I think I forgot to order them all. The guy didn't get contacted, but about a year and a half later, I wasn't working for the business at that stage. I'd left, and Keith Hornch, one of my mates from Jeffries, rang me. Says, "Do you remember that Triumph you wrecked?" I went, "Yeah." "Did you promise the guy Union flags?" I went, "Yeah." "Right, I'll order him some in." This is 18 months later. I went, "All right, mate, good work." So he got him in for him, and that was the story there. So yeah, we should have. I should take more care in the wet. I did learn eventually not to ride like a twat in the wet. Ride within your limits. And Hutchy's still with us, thankfully, and he's gone on to better things. That's my story. So there you go. Have a good night, everybody.